I met JT actually in the inner circle, well, I guess the first workshop that Carlton did. My husband and I were high W-2 earners, but we also have businesses. And so we were coming up to a point where we were now paying the government a lot of money. And I had already exhausted all the things that I knew, and I kind of needed that next level up. So JT was actually in that workshop with me. And whenever I'm always evaluating and I'm trying to see like, what is the purpose? Is this really true? Is this really real? And when I saw JT basically co-signing on the things that Carlton was saying, I was like, okay, you have a CPA in here who's trained. He's going to be the one, or she's going to be the one to call out the things that don't make sense. So I connected with JT that way, and then we got into the inner circle and then just kicked it off from there. He's a really cool dude, really nice, always responsive, always willing to help, and always willing to grow. And so when I did my cohort the following year, I asked JT to come in and speak on the entity structure creation and the financials. And then to also ask, or answer any questions that my cohort had. So one of the things I always ask is like, hey, if I had no money, what could I do right now to make sure that I'm doing things on the up and up, right? And so he answered that for them. But then also, one person was like, oh, okay, I can do it. While we had another one that was like, oh, I need help setting a nonprofit. Nonprofit is a very tricky one to set up. So it's not something you want to just do it on a whim. You got to make sure your paperwork's right. You got to make sure you're set up for the right 501, things like that. So he was able to help her, and they're also high W-2 earners. So in turn, he then was able to help them with his knowledge in tax strategy to then now do their taxes. So that's, how JT would come through for me, and then recently my uncle was diagnosed with terminal cancer like 3 weeks ago. And we have to do his taxes and, do all the estate planning. So while I was able to do the estate planning and getting all that, when it came down to his taxes, I was like, I know the guy to go to. And I reached out to JT and I said, hey, JT, I was like, I need to get my uncle's taxes done for this year. Can you help me out? Can you take on another person? And he was like, absolutely. So, and within a matter of minutes, I was set up in their system. I had requests, asking me to, submit the Schedule Cs, things like that. He shows up, and that's important, right? It's not just like, oh, by the wayside, it's like, okay, let me respond, and I think he was on his day off too. I think he's was out of the office too, and he was able to do that. He was like, here's the organizers, fill it in. And so and it's so simple to follow, which is great, because I've seen some that are just like, what are you asking for? But it's very simple, it's for somebody who's just coming in new and maybe doesn't know too much about taxes, as a business owner. And so that's what I like. So I was able to pull down everything I need. And so that's what I'm working through right now, is filling in the organizer so he can move forward with his next steps. JT is introverted. I'm introverted actually, until I get to know somebody that I'm like, okay, now you're my best friend. So JT and I were very, we click on that. It was like, okay, just business, blah, 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 how you doing? All right. But then Drew is like a whole animation, it's like their parents couldn't have had two of the most perfect kids. You have an introvert and an extrovert, and so Drew is such an amazing, guy to have, working right beside his brother, because it brings out more of JT. It kind of brings him out of his shell. And then I just love, Drew's wit, their website says it all, right? How they, the funny, things that they introduce, for the people who work for them. And he just, really brings things to life. So I think, Drew draws people in, and then JT gets the work done, right? So, yeah, I just think they just have really big hearts, and they want to do the right thing. I think a lot of people, when they go into tax strategy or they're dealing with a CPA, it can be nerve-wracking because you're not sure if they're really going to do what they need to do, or if you're going to get priced gouged. But it's worth every penny working with those guys. All my clients and my customers, I'm like, look, I got the person for you, JT. I got the person for you, JT. I will stump for him till my last breath, because that's how great they are. They're like family.